Is perfection ever an option when you are deemed to be imperfect? Why is it so highly valued by so many? Would you have the courage to be imperfectly perfect? I would like to share my story. In October 1983, I was just 2 years old, recovering from the measles. That day, my mum had brought my older sister to buy her very first school uniform and a record to add to our childhood record collection. That record is called Karma Chameleon. Meanwhile, back at home with my auntie and 2 sisters, I become very unwell. A short time after, Mum and my sister arrived home. My auntie opened the door. "Thank goodness you're home. Geraldine is starting to shake." It was a prolonged febrile convulsion. My mum and auntie screamed in despair. Thankfully, a nurse across the road was able to come over and take over until the emergency services arrived. On arrival to hospital, what followed next was a severe reaction to penicillin. My mum was asked to wait outside the room. A short time later, the doctor approached. "Mrs. McGrath, did you not realise your daughter had an allergy to penicillin? Please call your husband immediately. We have a critically ill child on our hands." Mum and Dad waited outside that room for several hours. I recently asked Mum, how long did it feel waiting outside that room? "A lifetime," my mum said. That night, my parents were allowed to come in and see me. Their 2-year-old little girl lay lifeless in the hospital bed. My face deformed due to the severity of the reaction. I was critically ill. Throughout the next 2 days, I showed no signs of improvement. It was on day 3 I opened my eyes. Very disorientated, it took me several hours to know who my parents were. Thankfully, on day 6, I started to show positive signs of recovery. From here, I will be transferred to another hospital where I would remain for an additional 2 weeks. My parents give their very best to visit me throughout this time, but let's be realistic here. My dad had to work to provide for his family, and my mum was caring for my 3 sisters back home, including a 2-week-old baby. Here I was, a little girl, separated from her loving parents, sisters, and family home environment. Did you know that traits of perfectionism can arise from psychological wounds in childhood and emotional trauma? You see, within the next 12 months, I had to learn to speak, and speech therapy became a huge part of my life. In preschool, in primary school, and with Mum bringing me to additional sessions outside of school. Learning to speak and speech therapy played a significant role in my early childhood. I recall my childhood so happy-go-lucky and carefree in Manchester, where I was born. My parents are Irish, and they had a vision to bring their family up in their home country. This happened in April 1992, where we left Manchester to start a new chapter as a family in County Fermanagh. The initial chapter, it felt like a holiday mode. It was beautiful. But little did I know that this happy-go-lucky, carefree young girl was soon to become lonely and isolated. Did I have the courage to be imperfect? Pushed by fear, my vulnerability was clear to be seen by the bullies. For the first time in my life, my imperfections were being called to me one by one. My weight, my height, my appearance, my accent, to name a few. Grateful for the support of new good friends. However, I can still recall today that hurt, that sadness, and that emptiness within me. An insecure early attachment in childhood can all result in perfectionism. You see, throughout the next 2 years, my battle with bullying began very early in the morning, crying to Mum on the way in the car to the school bus. Some days I had to go on that school bus, but on the really tough days, Mum brought me back home with her. The traits of perfectionism were now becoming my new normal. Pushed by fear, lonely, isolated, low confidence, low self-esteem, an all or nothing approach, fixing things, people pleasing. It all was part of who I was now. Yet another imperfection arises, and this one was going to sting me so much in the heart. My ability to speak. I would sit in the classroom and my hands would be sweating underneath that school table, in fear of being asked to read out loud. What if I couldn't pronounce the word? What if I couldn't say the word? They were going to laugh at me. Here I was, a young girl, who now had low confidence and low self-esteem. I didn't have the courage to be imperfect. My fear was so real. I recall walking up the corridor and I could hear the chants at the end of that corridor. I would pass them chants and approach a staircase. And before I could reach the top of that staircase, more chants would be coming back down to me. I questioned myself for so many years. Why me? I didn't speak back to them. I tried my best to fit in. But it's only now that I can see that they've seen that vulnerability within me. And so to speak, I was their easy target. You see, according to Dr. Robin Alters, there is 3 reasons why children bully. Because they were bullied, they are giving back to someone what someone gave to them. Because they believe by putting someone down that they will bring themselves up. And because someone is different, they are threatened when someone is different. If only I would have realized this earlier in my life. You see, as a perfectionist, I was doing to myself exactly what the bullies were doing to me. As Brené Brown quotes, perfectionism is a 20-ton shield that we lug around us, thinking that it will protect us, when in fact, it's the thing that's actually holding us back from being seen and taking flight. I stand here before you now today with the gift of my speech and as a woman who is embracing her imperfections. And this is what I would like to share with you all. The shift in my life. What was that shift? What was that turning point? It was self-awareness. You see, self-awareness is so important because when we have a better understanding of ourselves, we can then live our lives as true, individual, unique people. In 2020, I had many sessions with a life coach. It was in November 2020. My life coach softly said to me at the end of our call, "Geraldine, do some research on perfectionism. Just see how it sits with you." I later went on to research perfectionism, but I didn't connect. My self-awareness just wasn't fully there yet. As I prepared my talk, I share with you all today, the word perfectionism appeared on my screen so many times. The light bulb went on. It clicked. At 40 years of age, my jigsaw was finally starting to connect together. All the traits, all the behaviors, and the patterns, it was so familiar to me. Today, the courage for me to be imperfect is born. And as Tony Robbins quotes, self-awareness is one of the rarest human commodities. I don't mean self-consciously limiting or evaluating yourself. I mean being truly aware of your own patterns. In January 2021, I chose a word that would set the scene for my year. That word is authenticity, to be my true, authentic self. You see, the word imperfect actually spells I'm perfect, because we are all perfect in our own imperfect ways. My message to you all of Imperfect today is to have the inspiration to discover your creativeness within. Meaningful, to live a meaningful life, being your true, authentic self. Peace, to have that peace and tranquility so that you can confront your life with an open heart and an open mind. Empathy, empathy that you understand and feel the feelings of another. Reconciliation, that you have the courage to reconcile with yourself and to find that healing process within you. Fabulous, to remind yourself that each and every day that you are fabulous. Expressive, to be able to be self-expressive, to have the ability to be open to others. Captain, remind yourself every day that you are in control of your life and that you are the captain of your ship. And thankful, that each and every day that you have the gratitude and that you are thankful for everything that you have in your life. Let me bring you back to the start. That day in 1983, when my beautiful mum bought the record Karma Chameleon. Its meaning is equality. As the lyrics go, loving would be easy if your colours were like my dreams. Red, gold and green, red, gold and green. The red represents all the living things in this world. The gold is for all the treasures that people cherish in our world. And the green is for all the living things on this earth. The song is about the terrible alienation and the fear what people have for standing up in what they believe in. My wish for you today is that one person can too have the hope, the strength, and the courage to overcome the traits of perfectionism, to be self-aware and to be your true, authentic self. As Martin Luther King Jr. quotes, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that really matter. Be you, love you, and embrace you.